1,000
I
years.
know. No, only a couple decades. Are we recording? I haven't seen Nellie. It's only been, what, 40 years maybe?
It hasn't been that long.
You know, I was just bringing up and talking about the idea of unbound feet.
Yeah,
And-
that was in late 70s, early 80s. Yeah.
And if you could just talk a bit about who it was comprised of and where that idea came from.
Well, I think that it was extremely important because it was really an early and Asian American expression of feminism, especially, and the roles of Asian Pacific American women, and what we were fighting for and what we were expressing our concerns about. And it was really new and very, very exciting. In fact, I don't think that we even truly understood what we were doing, but my sisters, Jenny Lim and Nancy Hom and Canyon Sam and Kitty Choi and Merle Wu were all in there because we had work that we've done as writers and poets, etc., and putting those into action and into words and performing throughout California. And it was different and it was new, but it was also extremely empowering for Asian Pacific Americans.
I think what I was most impressed by and was struck by was, you know, to use an overused term, the diversity of voices and points of view. I think that also was a key to the group. Individually, everyone was strong, but there was such different points of view in terms of at least the material that I heard. And I found that to be quite powerful and impactful, and also just informative to kind of hear these different points of view. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it came from being who we were at the time and who we are today, but a lot of it has to do, since I'm the first U.S.-born daughter of immigrants from China, and Jenny and others with similar experiences. Merle was Korean and Chinese American, and Canyon's Chinese, and Nancy's Chinese. The thing that, and Kitty too, and Kitty's from Hong Kong originally, but here we have I think a very, very striking time for us, because feminism was really at the core of what we were trying to talk about. And that, you know, sometimes in the Asian American and other people of color communities, they don't really talk about sexism and fighting for our empowerment and as people, and then the oppression of women, as whether, you know, our ancestors were prostitutes or whether they were women workers as such. So much of that came into flower through the literary and the expression through theater.
In this exhibition and literary reading about agriculture, what would you like to convey to someone who has no roots in their family in agriculture?
Well, you know, my family in particular, we don't really have roots in, we do have roots in agriculture because my father and mother came from a rice-growing community in rural China, in Guangdong, or actually the province was, we were in Gunduhang or Toisan, and then in my dialect, which is the Tliyip dialect, then we were the Hoisan people. And since I'm the firstborn of immigrants from that part of China, I always thought, I said, am I Chinese? Am I American? Or what am I? I never really quite understood that, because I think it's particularly important because I think being the first U.S.-born Chinese American, I always found it like, am I American? Am I Chinese? All those kinds of questions came in. And since I speak some Toisan or Hoisan dialect, and I speak some Cantonese, but I'm not fluent. So sometimes I feel like the community and society in general say, oh, well, you're not Chinese enough, you're not American enough, what am I? But I think dealing with the issues of women and the roles of women and the fighting and the striving for empowerment, as well as for changing our society here in the United States as Americans of various colors and such is what is making the difference for me.
So could you tell us a bit about why you chose the piece that you're going to read today?
Oh, that's interesting, because I did choose some pieces and they might not be directly related to the agricultural roots of Asian Pacific America, but I think what's really important as we share stories about the early immigrants, as well as being the daughter of immigrant parents, that I express what it is about being Chinese American and being a feminist and being a socialist, etc., that would express the kind of fights that we're dealing with now. And it's not just because of the Republican administration putting holds on, for example, abortion rights, reproductive justice, and other issues, and not wanting to be pigeonholed that because I'm Chinese American that I have to speak a certain way or look a certain way, and that it's difficult because sometimes I've been faced with oh, you're not Chinese enough and you're not American enough, or you can't write, those kinds of issues. And then I said, well, what is it that we're fighting for? But I really particularly deal with issues of the working class in the United States of America, and also linking to international feminism and the rights of workers to really control this country and other countries, and that it can be better than what the capitalist system puts upon us.